Dear guests and viewers, thank you for being with us. And you are watching online international seminar on the COVID-19 impact on Islamic banks in Bangladesh, challenges and the way forward, arranged by First and JoraShako. Now, now we are at the last step. We are going to our honorable president of the seminar, Dr. Abu Umar Faruq Ahmad, sir. Sir, you are requested to deliver your speech and to announce the ending and conclude the whole seminar. Sir, you are requested to deliver your speech, please, sir.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Distinguished keynote speaker Professor Kabir Hassan, Honorable Chief Guest Professor Habib Ahmad, respected special guest or inaugurator Professor Ataur Rahman, dearest discussants, participants and the audience. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think what I'm going to say have already been discussed by the honorable discussants and the chief guest and the main keynote speaker. So I'm not going to repeat them, but if the reference comes, then I will mention, inshallah. So no one could have predicted the unprecedented turmoil caused by COVID-19 pandemic, which has interrupted economies and environments across the globe. And while it would be easy to point fingers at consumer-facing companies caught unawares, what is important now is rebuilding the global trade network by putting into practice the harsh lessons the entire world is forcibly learning now. As the global development community responds to the COVID-19 pandemic, a diverse and inclusive set of stakeholders must be engaged to address the enormous challenges. While the crisis has created immense human suffering, it has also sparked worldwide action from institutions and people eager to help. To combat the outbreak of COVID-19 that has severely impacted the world's economy, the Islamic banks and Islamic financial institutions are seemingly considering a more lenient approach concerning their potential headcount reduction unless the crisis deepens further. Islamic finance complies, as our honorable discussant, Professor Munzu Ilahi referred to that, with the maqasid of Sharia, or the key objectives of Four Noble Sharia. These objectives broadly revolve around the protection of faith, life, intellect, wealth, and dignity. In response, the United Nations Secretary General has emphasized on tackling the health emergency, focusing on social impact in the response and recovery, and helping countries recover more sustainably for the long term. The immediate priorities identified in the response of United Nations include health system support, inclusive and integrated crisis management and response. Islamic finance in the globe in general and in Bangladesh in particular can be part of the COVID-19 response through a range of financing instruments well suited for each stage. Firstly, Islamic banks can offer emergency support in the short term. In this regard, Zakah can be an important component of national and NGO emergency support programs. Donors typically require that Zakah be dispersed within 1 year of being given. This focus on immediate benefit is well suited for crisis response. Zakah donors support both the poor and the economically insecure, an area of increased need in the pandemic. Zakah donors often give cash transfers which can be especially important in emergencies. Individual sadaqah or philanthropic charity is a broad tool that can be used to support healthcare, food, and other immediate needs. Corporate charity as part of corporate social responsibility, as has been referred to our another respected discussant, Dr. Shafiqur Rahman, can also be a way for businesses to contribute not only money but also goods and expertise. United Nations Partnership Basnas, Indonesia's national Zakah collection agency, has been in place since 2017. Islamic banks can take this collaboration as an example of how Zakah stakeholders can systematically link their projects with the sustainable development goals, including in response to crisis. United Nations, another partnership with the World Zakah Forum, launched in 2019, lays the groundwork for members to work with United Nations on sustainable development goals aligned worldwide. Secondly, Islamic banks can make response and recovery in the medium run. The financing of equipment, vehicles, and other sources of livelihood and trade finance are key mechanisms by which Islamic banks can support recovery. Aligning their financing activities with the sustainable development goals is a significant opportunity for Islamic banks. In 2018, the Al Baraka Banking Group launched a collaboration with United Nations Development Program that seeks to align over $600 million of its financing portfolio with the sustainable development goals in the Middle East, Asia, Africa, and Europe. The coronavirus pandemic makes such initiatives all the more urgent. Thirdly, Islamic banks can make long-term recovery and resilience. Sustainable development goals aligned sukuk can be an important source of long-term capital for governments and companies engaged in the COVID response and recovery. United Nations support of the government of Indonesia's Green Sukuk, including a $1.25 billion issuance in 2018, is a prime example of how issuers can partner with United Nations to identify, track, and report on their sustainable development goals impact. They provide a decade of funding for Indonesia's National Sustainable Development Goals Plan. Work endowments can also, in many contexts, be important contributors to long-term resilience. Financial or non-financial assets, such as land or buildings, are permanently dedicated to social purposes. This can be an important way for stakeholders to contribute to social infrastructure that serves the sustainable development goals. This is a time for new ways to help tackle the devastation of COVID-19 and invest in sustainable development. Islamic finance has the tools for each stage of the response. Last but not the least, it is expected that Islamic banks can help the respective countries navigate the current situation through taking some preventive measures, such as using interest-free instruments and augmenting their corporate social responsibility activities. These can be reflected in what I have already mentioned at the outset. Besides, Islamic banks can also grant qard hasan or benevolent loans for welfare purposes or to bridge short-term funding requirements where the borrowers are required to repay only the principal. As corporations and individuals grapple with the impact of COVID-19 on their revenue, Qard Hasan could provide breathing space until the environment stabilizes. The Islamic banks can also render their help through cash waqf in the current circumstances by providing affordable housing solutions or access to health care and education for people that might have lost a portion of their income, including their jobs. These are a few suggestions as food for thought for Islamic banks in Bangladesh, given the ongoing corona situation that the industry is now facing. Finally, I extend my heartfelt thanks to organizers and sponsors to organize such an important and very timely event and to provide the audience with the opportunity of joining it in the webinar from all parts of the world. I hope this international seminar will thoroughly examine all the related issues and provide practical solutions for the active considerations and implementation by the Islamic banks in Bangladesh. I believe these would also help their peers in the rest of the world to find proper guidelines on the issue. I earnestly pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this seminar will achieve the success in reaching its loftiest goals. With that, I declare the ending of this international seminar. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.